I don't know of any. Okay, what I'm really suggesting that BPM needs to do things a little bit differently, and that's what I put together, this integrated enterprise excellence system to actually address that pulls it all together. Because it seems like a lot of times that we're having situations where it doesn't pull it all together, and I think there's some issues. I know that I've given you somewhat of a fire hose of information, and especially if this is all new to you, it may feel overwhelming, and I can understand that, but hopefully you'll get some takeaways and you say, well, this makes a little bit of sense. You know, and I see where you're going. I might not understand all the details, and I think that's perfectly acceptable for today. And then you can go in and look at it in more details later. Okay, so now let's look at, in this value chain, we're still drilling down in the hospital, and we're looking at housekeeping. Okay, notice this is where it's at in the value chain. So again, we've got the procedures that we have for our cleaning process and housekeeping, and then we've got cleaning quality. These are metrics relative to quality, cost, and time. Hopefully, if you saw the iPad going around, you could kind of click and follow me along with this. So what we're doing now is looking at this particular metric. This is cleanliness. So if it goes down, that's bad. So what do you think we have here? This could be looking at every month, the cleanliness quality. So now we're saying basically the median is 6.8 with 8% here, but notice what happened is it dropped. And what do we have as a comment? Notice here, this happened after it was outsourced as part of a cost reduction program. So it looks like maybe if we remember what happened relative to customer satisfaction, they talk about cleanliness. So it looks like maybe this is a driver for that customer satisfaction. See how we're analyzing the overall system this way. Well, let's look at patient transportation. So this again is our value, this is our procedures that we have, and this is our metric. So if you notice we have a metric over here is diagnosis to bed. So that's one of our metrics, so let's look at that one there. Notice what I'm giving you is various ways of looking at 30,000 foot level metric reporting. So you can see our diagnosis to bedtime went down, stage down. Just want to reiterate, we're not reacting to all these ups and downs. That's common cause variability. We're not reacting to those as though they're special cause. But now we look at how we're doing relative to the criteria of 30 minutes or less. So this percentage is only 7% of the time we're 30 minutes or less. In other words, 93% of the time or thereabouts, we're actually larger than what we want to have. So we got an issue with that, and we also just made this comment here. We made an improvement. But if you recall, our customer dissatisfaction was dealing with they had to wait too long. So this might be one of those metrics that we should work on. Okay, so what I've done here is I've gone in and presented information to you, and what I'd like for you to work in your teams, your tables there, is to create an enterprise improvement plan for determining the improvement project which benefits the enterprise as a whole. Would also like you to list any attributes of the business managed policy or the rules that address the day-to-day activities, performance monitor, improvement efforts. Consider a 9-step with this integration. Example responses might be, just to get your mind start thinking this way, each process owner daily monitors their 30,000 foot level metric to determine if there are any special cause events that need to be addressed. 2, divisional management is given a monthly status on how the EIP metrics are performing, status of that. Document difference between the this approaches. So this is what I'm asking you to do. So I want to make sure that, oops. So do you remember what the value, the IEE looks like? I'll have to back up here to make sure. Okay, so this is an EIP. So what we want to do here, for the hospital, I'd like for you to establish business goals, strategies, high potential areas, and projects to work on. Okay? So write that down. Write that down on a sheet of paper here, and then I want to advance to the... So this is what an EIP looks like. And so I'd like for you to put together an EIP for this hospital. I gave you information, and I like to do this. See how this is, we're trying to work at the executive level, create strategies. So we're not just waiting for strategies to be given us. We're actually trying to help organizations create the strategies. Okay, so I want you to go in and to try to do a real good job on this. So I'll give you, 20 minutes to half an hour to work this. Oops. And I want you to ask me any questions that you might have. So just raise your hand if you want to talk about any aspect of what we discussed so far or how to work with this. Okay? One thing you could do is just start rolling and look at the metrics and starting with the high level here.
What page is this?
Yeah, this would be page 24. This one, sorry. Start with 36. So, I guess we go with 37. But we had voice of the customer here, right? On page 37, the top slide. So the voice of the customer got worse, right? Okay. Yeah, 37, voice of the customer. So it got worse. Okay. And then the customer feedback, poor room, cleanliness, untrained staff. That's a clue right there. So I want to check that. Right? So that gives you some ideas that you might want to work on. So you might want to check that one. And then I was surprised. Yeah. Well, the thing is, you might be able to look at, fortunately, I've looked at boxes. We usually do this on 8.5 by 11 sheet. So you might look at the boxes. Yeah. I was thinking you're going to make the sheet units and make it a little bit bigger so it's not really big.
We found all this in the notebook. Yes? This?
No, well, this isn't, that's not in the book, but no. But it makes references down the bottom of pages sometimes. And I figure that's what it does.
Yes, I can show you. Some of these
reported on that
yes.
from Breyfogle.
From grass and stuff like that. Yeah.
Not the pages exactly.
So just go in and start looking at those, saying, hey, do I think I ought to work on housekeeping, and look at the profit margin, and figure out what you might do. Okay? I want to point one thing out, that we want to use the data that I gave you to help you make the decisions, far as actually what you're actually going to be working on for strategies. So I think that if you're familiar with the hospital, you might be able to figure out some other things that you might do, but I want to have it so that you're using the data that I gave you to help you figure out what you should be working on. Okay?
Da, nu știu, cum se vede, nu s-au schimbat. Când s-au spădească,
Okay, let's go in and talk about it here. So I think I spoke to everybody, every group here. So if you go back to, let's see, where is this at in your book? What I gave you is my solution, and I think I was kind of leading you to this, and we can throw out there what my solution, my approach was to this, even though there's more than one. If you move to page number 47 in your book. Okay, if you notice here, I've got the 9-step business system. Oh, first off, what I've got is if you see in the upper right-hand corner, there's an Enterprise Process Management, EPM. Okay? suggest would be the 9-step. Are you losing? Okay. Okay. Is what I came up with the step 4. You can see I came up with the business goal here. Return monthly profit margins to 11.9 in 14 months. Notice what I'm again trying to use the data to go in and give me some direction on how I should establish my goals. Hopefully you'll see, and I know I've given you a fire hose here of information, especially if you're new into this, but I'm trying to have it so that we create business goals that are realistically and they're analytically determined, as opposed to simply someone's opinion. Okay? Again, any questions on this, let me know. Yes.
If I improve the customer satisfaction, would not this lead to the market share increase? I mean, should be a connection between this, in my opinion. So in this situation, if I'm acting on improving the housekeeping, this will raise the customer satisfaction level. And of course, beside the other action on marketing, this would also support to increase the market share.
Yeah, I think the point that you're making is valid in that this is just one possible solution to this. There's more than one approach to it, but and so this is just the solution I came up with. But again, the point that you make is valid. But my really main objective here is to start with the business goals here and how you word the strategies. Those could be done different ways. The other thing that I'm really trying to lead to is high potential areas, such that there's going to be a metric that I'm really trying to improve. That is my major objective of what I'm trying to do this. There's more than one way of coming up with this plan and building this particular EIP, Enterprise Improvement Plan. But that's what I'm really trying to do is creating a system so that metric improvement needs in the value chains are pulling for projects that's going to benefit the enterprise as a whole.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good. And so then I came out to the high potential areas that I'm looking at: marketing, housekeeping, patient transportation. So keep in mind how this is also looking at theory constraints. We want to look at high potential areas that are going to affect the enterprise as a whole. So if, for example, we've got excess capacity, then we would want to go in and look at maybe improving our sales and marketing process. Okay. And then what we want to do is get back to projects that we're really trying to work on. And again, there's a metric that we're trying to move, and we're trying to move those 30,000 foot level track metrics to a new level of performance that's going to be aligned with the overall financials. So then in housekeeping, notice housekeeping was an issue relative to voice of the customer, and also we noticed that housekeeping performance had degraded. We also had patient transportation was an issue relative to the voice of the customer, and we noticed that improved, but also it looked like it did not improve as much as we'd like it to be. Okay? So does this make sense? You see what we're doing? Okay, so what I'm going to do is get back to where I was at. Now, I listed some attributes. This is the second bullet. List attributes of a business management policy. Consider the 9-step system. I gave you some examples things that I could think of. And this is aligned also to more the business process management aspect of what we're trying to integrate. Notice what I'm looking at here is putting together policies that's going to lead to day-to-day type of activities here, where each process owner is looking at their particular metric. And then you're also going to have divisional management is given monthly statuses. We had one customer that there's a major defense contractor, and they were given monthly reports to their management, their executive management. It took them 3 weeks to put together like a 57-page slide deck. Well, talking about waste, you know, how much effort did that take to actually pull it all together? You know, and plus it's all going to be dated information. And then you're going to be talking about the metrics. Where what I'm suggesting here is that you have just clickable information, and then now it's very easy for management, executive levels to understand that these are particular processes, metrics that we're trying to improve. They will be asking for the process owner's status of how you're dealing with relative to those metrics. And then you want to have it so that those process owners are describing the status of those projects. So now the metric needs pull for projects that's going to benefit the enterprise as a whole. See how that's different than most deployments that you have relative to process improvement efforts. Okay? So I kind of netted out my thoughts about current improvement project selection and business management. Do you see the point that I'm trying to make, or you may not agree with me? That's okay too. So is there any other thoughts about that? So I'd like to hear from a couple people anyway, you know.
Disagree with you.
It's either way. You're agreeing or disagreeing?
I'm agreeing.
Agreeing, okay, there you go.
Thank you. So in my opinion, there are positive side and negative in the same time for your system. I mean, in my opinion. So I would say that this kind of system could be implemented after you did something like lean. I mean, you need procedure in place, you need people trained, you need a system of continuous improvement in place, like suggestion system, so that you are already working in the company from the bottom to the lower level. What is bringing more is that you are not only looking to the objectives, so like BPM, but you also have incorporated tools for improvement. So actually it's a complete cycle, starting from the problem which is shown up on the BPM system, and then going down with the tools to improve them, and going back and looking to the effects to see if you really achieve the results. So that's the positive part, and still I believe that you need something else also additional to this, like something from lean.
Okay, well, the reason, if I'm going to an organization, a lot of times people will go in and they've been doing lean, or they may not be doing lean. I'm suggesting that that's not necessary. I think it's more important, this is just my personal belief, you can agree or disagree with me, but I think it's important to look at how we're measuring it. Even if you don't have any procedures documented, you've never done a process improvement project ever, you know, and it could be in a very large organization, I would like to see first of how things are performing. Because the problem, if you're going in and just doing lean first, you may understand the concepts, but you may have done Kaizen events that don't help the big picture. That's just my belief. Now, obviously, that you're going to be needing to have the lean skills sets and the process improvement, the analytical skills, and so on. There's a lot behind creating these charts and actually run improvement projects. So what I'm suggesting that if you're getting this started, is looking at what you're measuring or what you're actually doing and how you're going to measure what you do. Because if you don't really have at least some of that in place, how do you know the work improvement? To give you an example, I was, working well, I'll give you an example here. There's a bowling ball company in San Antonio, Texas. Okay, I met with someone that was from that company. He didn't work there any longer, and he was describing all the things that they had been doing in lean. I said, well, that's nice, but didn't your company get bought out by a competitor because you did not have good financials? He said, yes, but we did all this work in lean. I said, well, yeah, but it's really about the financials. So I'm suggesting a lot of times you don't necessarily want to start with that, and you would really want to start with how am I measuring the enterprise as a whole, and how do I look at it, and then you could immediately link to a lean project. I don't have a problem with that if I'm trying to go in and improve on-time delivery, and that would involve a certain amount of training or Kaizen events or whatever. But I want to have the Kaizen events at this level to actually show that they improved a metric, and that's what I believe in my mind that's missing with lean. I want to always move the needle whenever possible. So again, you don't have to agree with me, but that's my view. Yeah. Some other one? Okay, good.
Well, just because you asked for a volunteer, I agree with you. This method of measuring speaks to my experience. Just to take one example, we're thinking of improvement in the support department, but we don't measure it at this moment, the time it takes to solve a customer's problem. We don't have an application, not even an Excel spreadsheet. So what to improve if I can't measure? So this method speaks to my experience at this moment.
Yeah, good. Okay. And we're on the same page on that too. And what I would suggest is, he's behind you. I would suggest is that you look at presenting this information after you determine what you want to do, because you may have defective rates, you may have lead times, you might even have WIP in that, I don't know. But figure out what you want to measure and how you're going to track it. And also, you want to assign a cost to that if you can. I call it cost of doing nothing. A lot of times in Lean Six Sigma, cost of poor quality. I like to use the cost of doing nothing different. For those who are familiar with WIP, work in process, what's the cost for poor quality for that? Well, there's really not. It's just that there's a cost associated with having a WIP along with it. And I call that cost of doing nothing differently, and then that you might want to reduce. So when you're presenting information like this, the metrics like you're looking at there, what is the cost implication of that? Which could be leading to some customer dissatisfactions, and they may have some intangible. You may lose some. That could have a risk that you're going to be losing some customers, and it has all sorts of implications. And when you present the information like that, then people at all levels are going to easier understand it. Now, to actually move that needle, that could be very difficult to do, especially significantly. But that's the real world. So, other comments? When having the continuous improvement organization culture change program, where do you place Six Sigma implement, for example, prior or after BPM implementation? Okay, so basically I think that you want to go in and would like to go in and do BPM and Six Sigma type things at one time. What I'm suggesting is a little differently. The metrics that I just described as a starting point is where I believe you should start. That's not what I see happening in BPM in the literature and deployments I've seen. A lot of times they get into flow charting or their automation of processes. So I'm not a big fan of starting with flow charting. I think you really want to go in and look at what the metrics are on how you're doing your value chain. And so this is kind of in the spirit of BPM, but it's different than normal deployments of BPM. Like I mentioned earlier, one of our customers said that BPM in their facility has bad connotation because all they're doing is flow charting. And a lot of times there are not any metrics associated with that. So I would rather start with the value chain of what you do and how you do it. Even though what you do is not defined, I would like to start looking at the metrics. And then when I start getting to this EIP, just what we did, it's going to be, those are dealing with Lean Six Sigma projects. So if you come back and look at what I did back over here, I don't know how far back this is. Oh boy, I got there, man. Murphy must have messed up on this one here. This is what I was looking for. So now when you come back over here and you identify and execute projects, you're going to look at if you have a special cause condition, just do it. Special cause condition, solution unknown, this is it. And then now if it's common cause condition, solution known, you're going to be doing a lean project. Okay, that's where it falls in here. But if it's common cause solution unknown, do plan, do check, act, or doing a Lean Six Sigma project, a make project, or design for Six Sigma project. Okay. So to me, I'm suggesting this is a way that you really want to do the deployment, because it's not like I want to do BPM before Lean or Six Sigma, because otherwise people might often say, well, I need to do Lean before Six Sigma. I think you need to do them all at once, but you really need to start with your value chain first, in my mind. And you can go in somewhat a very short period of time, like we do what we call workout, where you come in the facility and you actually start building this at a high level and then get executive management buy-in, and then you can just start going from there. And you've already got probably some KPIs, and your KPIs in your value chain, one might be over here, one might be here, one might be here, and one might be there. And then you could actually take those particular metrics, start creating a 30,000 foot level chart in somewhat a very short period of time, and then you've kind of created a structure from which you can grow in the future. So hopefully whoever asked that question, I answered, and if not, let me know. Some other questions or points? Okay. So I understand this is not a real, maybe it's not what you expected, but and I've given you an awful lot of information, so this is not a touchy-feely type class workshop, and hopefully you didn't get too discouraged here, but we covered a lot of ground here, but hopefully you get the overall idea. So again, we started with a 9-step business system that we're looking at it, and now if you had the book, I could go in and reference this to you, but if you're going to get the book at a later time, then you'll have to look at it then. But what I've got listed in the book is a checklist for actually going through this overall process. Now when I laid out the book in volume 2, it was really two different kind of formats I laid out. One was a 9-step, but the book actually follows an enterprise to make system. Okay, not define, measure, analyze, improve, control. That's the Lean Six Sigma roadmap. But what I've created is an enterprise to make system, which is consistent with basically the 9-step thought process with that. So if you would go, whenever you get the books, if you go in and look at page 170 in section 6.2, that describes some of the front end things that you might want to consider. When you get over to the analyze piece, we talk about theory, constraints, and things like that. So more than just the value chain, but this is very details in what you can actually do when you're analyzing the enterprise. So that's something that you can look at later, so we can't look at that now, obviously. Now, as I was again discussing, this is the overall linkage with this BPM. So again, that the 9 steps is going down over here, and then this is the BPM piece over here. Notice here we've got automation of processes within this, process modeling, and then automation of processes gets involved in this overall system here. But I want to automate processes that are beneficial to the enterprise as a whole. And until I look at the overall value chain and basically doing what we talked about here earlier, I just don't know which processes to automate. I don't know where to start. Now, if we start comparing this overall system to basically other approaches that are out there, the balanced scorecard, a Lean Six Sigma, and so on, we list down on the left-hand side some attributes that we think are important, and how well these other systems actually did relative to these overall attributes. So the IEEE system, there may be a little bit of bias here, but we feel like we do a pretty good job relative to these other aspects of other systems that are out there. Okay, now, one thing that's out there, we talk about maturity models. So we talk about software maturity models and as being an example. So we've built basically a maturity model for this overall IEEE system. Basically, what I've just described to you here is the big enchilada. We have in Mexican food, and we've got the enchilada, so this is kind of a saying, so I'm not sure if that's a Romanian saying or not. But so this would be the whole thing, and it's hard to take in one big bite. And so we suggest that they might want to take in other pieces, and people are not going to be perfect in all these attributes when you start it out. But we've listed some things over here that I think are very important to this. So base business systems in place, process alignment, metric usage, predictive measurement scorecards, automation reporting, and so on. So these are the attributes that we think are important. So then you can look at your organization and create a 1 to 10 score is determined for each of the attribute where 10 is perfection. The lowest of the 8 attributes is the overall organization maturity model. So, okay, and now if you look at the end of the course material, this is really on page number is it? Okay, it's a page number after 48. So if you look at the page after 48 and after 49, so these are the attributes that I'm saying. So open up your book. Everybody, when you open your book here, I guess I got this on a Word document, but let's see. Oops. Okay, so oops, didn't work out so good. So you should see something that will look like this, right? Just can't get the whole thing on here without. So you'll see across the top, I got the various attribute, business system maturity. If you turn to the next page, it gives you a little bit more description about each one of these levels of maturity. So like a 10 would be, there's an orchestrated maturity, so on. So those should have, the top one will be 10, 9, 8, 7, and so on. Are you going to try to get on one page?
No, it's about, but we need to work. Just one.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. So anyway, that's what we'd have. Now what we got now is an exercise here. So using this maturity model form that I provided you, that we just looked at here, what I'd like for you to go in and look at your overall material model score to be. So, so you kind of go in for your organization, so this is kind of an individual exercise, look at your overall organization and kind of establish how well that you're performing. And then remember I said at the beginning of this workshop you were the CEO, and the idea there, or you're at least a influencer for the CEO. And so I didn't want you to go in and cross your arms saying, hey, I can't apply these techniques because that's beyond my position in the organization. Well, now we're back to the real world. You got your current job. You got your current job back. Is after you go in and rate how your organization is doing relative to the business maturity model, where the lowest score that you have is the maturity of the overall organization. Then what I'd like for you to do is to address the question, to gain insight to what you might actually do to actually improve your organization. How could you, let me rephrase that. What could you actually do if you believe this methodology? What would be a good next step to describe this overall methodology to others, or start out small within your organization? What might you do? So again, it's a two-step thing I'm asking for here, is first to go in and basically just circle what you have or what you think your organization is relative to all the attributes. The lowest number represents maturity of your organization. And then tell me what you think would be a good first step for what you might do to demonstrate this methodologies to others. So for example, for your situation that you just talked about, one thing you might do is to take that particular metric and you go in and start laying it out and put together as a part of an overall value chain. Hey, this is where that particular metric resides in the overall system, and show what it's doing and what you might drill down from there. That was just an example that would come out with it. Okay? So let's take 10 or 15 minutes to do this, and if you got any questions, raise your hand. More than happy to discuss it. Us introverts, we don't have much to say, but whenever we got a passion about something, you can't shut us up. So that's my situation with this. Okay, how do we come out with their maturity model? What numbers did you come out with? Okay. What number did you come away with?
I didn't.
What about you? What number? What was your lowest number?
The first question was one.
1? Okay, she's got a number 1 on hers. Okay, what about you? What did you get your lowest number? What did you come up with? Okay, we got another number that's 2 over here. What about, do we have any 3s in the audience? Have a 3? Any 3s? Okay, come on. No, 2s? What number did you come up with? Got number 1? Okay. What is the number from this table? Okay, well, which is the lowest numbers? 1? Okay, so this is number 1. Okay. Okay, so it looks like there's quite a bit of opportunity for improvement in general, huh? So what are some ideas on how to start within the organization? This, again, I described the big enchilada here. So if you've got a metric, I'm just reiterating, a metric, and you want to, say for example, it's a metric that somebody's using as red, yellow, green scorecards. Okay? And now you say, well, I just would like to look at that data differently. So you could kind of look at that same set of data and then present that to someone else saying, hey, I don't think we're there. We might look at the data a little differently because this has been talking between red and green for the last 18 months and really nothing has improved. Okay, so that might be change in behavior. That's again shrinking the change down to something small on how we might look at metrics a little differently. And then the next thing that you might do is go in and line that to your value chain. So what does that particular metric fit in relative to the overall big picture? Now, obviously, if you're putting this together by yourself, you know, it's not going to have all the details, but hopefully people will get an idea on how where does it fit relative to the big picture. You also might go in and say, if that's a particular metric that you think need to be improved, you list the current strategies in the EIP that you have, the current strategy in your organization, and then try to show how improving that particular metric could align to the overall financials. So you're kind of starting a roundabout way of getting there, right? Because you want people to start thinking about this way. Any other thoughts? Okay, well, let's see what we got here. So hopefully that at least gave you some ideas on what you might do to get things started. So what I'm suggesting is, just as kind of a wrap up here, is the IEE system is building upon a lot of the concepts that were described previously or built upon. Notice here we got the TQM and so on. So what I've tried to do is build this upon a lot of the concepts that people may be familiar with in the past. So these are some of the points that I think the Integrated Enterprise Excellence System can give you. There's a question here, okay? Could you list 3 companies implemented BPM system which were that you read that. He or she writes like I do. You want to read it?
Yeah, I've done it. It's about 3 examples.
Okay. Well, talking about 3 examples here is that well, sometimes you have companies that you're not supposed to mention their name. And I alluded to this major defense contractor. This person here, I went in there 3 different times to help them build their metrics. And using this value chain concept and how you look at metrics. And then they went in and bought the software. Now, I can't tell you their name because that's part of our agreement. I can't tell him. But, this is something that they're building on. He's just really so excited about this overall methodology. And what he wants to do is he wants to then upsell it to his managers. So I was there in the presentation a while back, and this is what he wants to do, and he would like to eventually get it throughout the whole organization. Now, we're not there yet, but that's where we'd like to get it. And they were the company I was talking about spending 3 weeks on putting together 55 slides. So that was not very beneficial for that. Or that was a real big waste. So that was one example. Oh, he was also someone that attended one of my sessions, my public sessions, a number of years ago, and he told me at that particular time, he said, "Well, Forrest, I really agree with the points that you're making, but the timing's not right." He said, "I'll get back with you when it is." Like I hadn't heard that before, But sure enough, he did when he thought that he was in a position and that the opportunity was right, and he just took the ball and ran with it, and we created these metrics, and now some of the people on the team, they just really love this way of presenting information. Now, another example was how somebody used these metrics. Now, they're not using our software right now, but they went in and one person went in and changed completely how they were going in and using the 30,000-foot level metrics throughout the overall organization. I alluded to this other mining company that really made a really big difference on how they looked at numbers. They were, when we started putting together here, is that they were not really looking at the customer feedback at all. So when I went in and started looking at and putting together the metrics, we created a system where they started looking at the metrics overall completely. They were just all looking at the operational metrics, but they have to go in and ship the ore off, but they were not really evaluating those metrics completely. And I think I maybe mentioned it before, but when they were presenting this information in a regular meeting, the mining manager said, "Hey, I need to really work on leaning out this overall process for going in and doing maintenance on the trucks, because it looks like I'm the bottleneck." So to me, that's the right kind of behaviors. So those are just some examples that we've been involved with. I got another company that's really interested in this overall methodology, and they make farm equipment. And he's somebody that I did a keynote for them for a number of years ago, and he's familiar with our overall methodology, and now he just got promoted. And so now he's really wanting me to go up and speak with his management. We got another company that we've worked with and trained a lot of master black belts in their organization, and they make like biscuits and such for fast food chains. And I helped them actually reduce the crumbliness of biscuits. It's like a 7-year-old problem, on doing design of experiments. But we've worked with them a number of years, and so now they wanted to, he wants me to go in and explain it to his management, because some of the things that they've been trying to do, and they're really big on Deming, and that is not really doing as well as he thought. So now he's really wants me to be talking to his management about this overall methodology and see what they might be able to do to take it to the next level. So anyway, those are a few examples that hopefully will give you some insight to what this can do. Now, what we're suggesting with the IEE system is how we can integrate the voice of the customer, supply chain, and so on, to pull it all together. Hopefully you'll see that. And I think that's one of the real big benefits of this. Now, I covered a lot of ground again as a fire hose. I understand that. But hopefully you get this as a major takeaway. And then if it makes sense to you, we can have further discussions on the details. The details are really manageable. It's a matter if you get the big picture or not. That's what's really important. We got the 5-book series here that gets into more details. One of them is an e-book you can pick up from the website. We also got some descriptive IEEE videos that you could go in and explain that to other people. And we got like a documented case study. I forgot about this one here to explain that to someone else. And that's a video that does it. This is Oracle Packaging, and they made aluminum foil. And so we had some documentation relative to their particular deployments. And also this is documented also in the American Management Association article and video, which is available on our website. So just readdressing our learning objectives, summarize the problems with the current business management system. You know, like I said, we were trying to orchestrate and pull things together. We also talked about issues with the current improvement plans where we end up siloed activities. And we talked about also the benefits of the predictive scorecards, getting away from the stoplight scorecards, and enhanced business system for pulling it all together. So anyway, that's my contact information, and got you out of here 3 minutes early unless we have 5 minutes of questions. So is there any other questions here? Okay, well, I guess that's pretty much everything I have to say. I've enjoyed your country. It's great that you guys arrange it. So we had beautiful weather when we're here. I really appreciate that. And we enjoy in your country. My wife and I have been seeing some of the castles and so on. It's very, very nice place, and we really have enjoyed ourselves here and all the hospitality, and we really like the friendliness of your people, and it's been a great time here too. So anyway, I'll turn this microphone over to Anson or whoever.
Thank you very much. Mulțumim frumos. A fost foarte, foarte, foarte interesant ceea ce s-a prezentat astăzi. Sper că sunteți și voi de acord cu acest lucru. Așa este? Haideți să-l mai aplaudăm o dată pe Forrest Breyfogle. Am să...